I felt this attraction. I didn't know why I felt like I was in love with him, other than I would see past lives in my mind, of who we were in the past. And it's very confusing, because you can actually feel like you fall in love with that person and that you want that person in your life for the rest of your life. And Joe and I had to work out all of these things. And I'm on radio and I'm talking about this, but the whole aspect of it is that it's all about truth, Joe. But the whole aspect of it, and then we went through like a period of time of really getting on each other's nerves and stuff like that. But we always felt that attraction of needing to be together until this contract was up. Until like just recently we understand that. But at the same time, it is, I believe that energy wise, I asked for him, he asked for me in some way. And so when we both met, we both knew that there was something that we had to, internally, we knew that there was something that we had to complete, no matter what we went through in the last year and a half in our spiritual, or not our spirit, but through spirituality, but that was more stronger than our egos. So we learned a lot about each other through.
Well, I appreciate your being so honest, in revealing that side of your relationship.
That's just as important. Yeah.
Well, let's be clear here. There was nothing other than the professional stuff and what she's talking about, the relationship.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want this to be misconstrued.
I'm sorry. Keep in mind, I see things differently than Joe. Joe's more mental and I'm more emotional. But it was a growth. The whole experience was a growth.
Okay, I have some questions coming through from a couple people here, so I'm going to ask them. One person is saying, how does a channeler know he's not communicating with a service to self demon or other? What makes you able to distinguish between that and also from your higher self? I understand that in a sense you kind of addressed that to some degree, Terry. So why don't we have Joe talk about that from his point of view, because it appears that Joe is also getting channeled information. And and before you answer, Joe, I am going to say here that my point of view is that we are all channelers. Okay. We're all, portals. In other words, we can open up to spirits and to energies and to seeing more and to letting those things come through us. And there's just degrees. Okay.
Absolutely.
So in that sense, Joe and Terry are no different than anyone else who's listening to this. It's just that some people call it inspiration. Some people are aware that there is an entity out there, or they're tapping into the universal mind or their own higher mind and so on. And in the end, we're all tapping into the information and, that is around us in the fabric. Actually, Pete Peterson, one of our whistleblowers, who is a doctor, calls it the information field. So,
right.
So why don't you address that question now, Joe? And
okay.
Then I have another
I totally
question.
agree with you, Carrie. And one thing I'd like to say is, in my mind, with all that I've learned, whether it be through the degrees of, mainstay medicine or, my exploration within the channeling, is that thought becomes reality. And if you have a fear-based knowledge of something or you're afraid of it, it'll manifest in front of you. So I think that if you're going to attempt to do these types of things like channeling, you have to protect yourself, for one, so you don't call upon the negative. And I don't even like to call them negative anymore. I like to consider it an opposing force. It depends on the person's perspective, obviously, but I like to look at it as opposition. And how do we know? Basically, I think we need to learn to use our own discernment. We are each, in my mind, we're all spiritual beings living a human existence. And when you live on Earth, which some consider 3D, you have to learn a little more about the higher realms in the sense of discernment and trust. And when something negative comes through, you have the discernment to say, well, that sounds a little off. Why would I go do that when it could be detrimental to somebody? And if your service to yourself, I mean, right off the bat, your ego, you know what you're going to do for yourself compared to what you would do and what you're inspired to do for others. Does that help with that at all?
I think that's a very good, clear answer. And there's no doubt about it that internally people will know, whether they're serving themselves or they're serving others at the very most bottom line. Mm-hmm. I think even the most naive souls at some level will realize that. They may not communicate that way. They may even think that, they can cover it up with social niceties and so on. But an entity knows, on a subliminal level, whether they are being service to self or service to others. And sometimes service to others appears, actually the vice, they also appear as the reverse. So in other words, you could be doing something which appears to be service to others. In reality, it's a service to self. You can be doing something service to self, or it appears to be service to self, and in reality, it's service to others. And they can also both be happening simultaneously. So there's a real complexity there, especially on what we call, the 3D or this level. And I hate to call this the 3D at this point, because I think that we're more and more in the 4D as we go forward here, in these years. Now, right. I know you're getting information, both of you, channeled information, and I've got another question here. And so after this question, what I'd like to do is we are going to come up on a break, and then when we come back, I'd like to talk about the information you are getting as opposed to the process you're going through. And here is the question. We've got, by the way, I'm just going to, I don't know if she'll be happy or not if I do this, but Rebecca Jernigan, I don't know if both of you are familiar with them.
She's on my show tomorrow.
Wonderful. Okay, well, she is listening, and she's a good friend of mine, and she's been very valuable to Project Camelot, helped us out in many ways. And she is asking a question here. She herself is a channeler, and so she has some experience in this area. And she wants to talk, she says hello to you guys. And she says, I'm afraid we don't have the ability, otherwise we'd have to call her up to bring her on. We can't, this radio station doesn't have that kind of call-in feature. But at any rate, she says the ability to see energies has changed through the years for her. And it has become very dense, more deep. And there's more information around a person or a situation. And what she wants to know is, and this is, I think, aimed at Teresa, whether this has been that way for you.
Yes and no. It changes on me a lot, but it seems like it's a pattern. Like when I'm working with clients, I kind of look at the energy pattern that's around the client, but it's either dull or it's bright. If I see orbs around the client, I usually have this awareness. If I tap into the orb, then I know that the energy of the orb. Then I usually have a message that I need to say to the person. I don't have to tell the person that I'm tapping into that orb. I just bring it out in therapy type thing. I noticed that I'm seeing more. Before I was more the empathic person, but now it seems like the seeing can come in different ways. It could come in like a dreamlike state in my mind, or it could come in as just an urging, like a little voice that says, come on, say this, say this. And I have no choice but to say it.
Okay, well that answers that question more or less.
I hope so, because I don't really, it's hard to answer questions like that. Because I think every one of us are different.
Well, we're talking about this, the unseen realm, so to speak.